Hey there, I'm Douglas from Draftbit. Today we're going to be talking about the timer component. This is a powerful tool for adding time-based functionality to your application. Whether you're building a countdown stopwatch, a time tracker, the timer component can handle it all. In this video, we'll walk through adding the timer component to your app step by step. Let's get started. Head over to the component picker, then search for timer component. After adding the timer component, our timer component needs some controls. So I'm going to go ahead and then I'm going to add a view. Then inside this view, I'm going to have 3 icon buttons. I'm going to make this view flex direction of row. Then I'm going to have a gap of 10. For the first icon button, it's going to be for starting. The second one is going to be for stopping. Then the last one will be for resetting. Let's go ahead and add the functionality. So on the first button on interaction, I'm going to say start timer. Then it's going to ask me which timer do you want to start. Then I'm going to target the component name of my timer. For the second one, it's going to be for stopping the timer. Then it's going to ask me again the name of the timer that I want to stop. Then the last one will be for resetting the timer. Then again, it's going to ask me what I want to reset. Then it's going to ask me the specific time that I would like to reset it to. And I think for that, it's just going to be 0. Let's go on device preview, web preview, then let's test it out. So now if we click start, our timer starts. If we click stop, our timer stops. Then when we click reset, it resets back to 0. Let's go back to our timer. And now let's look at styles. So we're going to go to the style tab. Then we're going to look at font. We can pick any font that we want for the timer. We can pick a font size. So for this one, let's make it 36. We can even pick a color. I'm going to pick red. And we can keep going on with the styles as we want. Then up next, we have configuration tab. So the first thing on the configuration tab is the component name. So you can change the timer's component name in this component field. And when we're adding these buttons, it was asking us target your component. And here it was asking us for the component name. So in a situation where you have lots of timer components, here is where you can make them unique so that you can pick each one without making mistakes. Then up next, we have the update interval. This property determines how often the timer display updates and it's measured in milliseconds. For example, the default value is 1000 milliseconds, so the timer updates every 1 second. And if we were to set this to 500 milliseconds, the timer display will update twice per second. Note, this doesn't make the time go faster, it only adjusts how frequently the timer numbers are refreshed on the screen. To see this difference more clearly, let's change our display format to hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. And by doing so, we're now able to see the difference. So right now on 1 second, let's see. And you see, this is just the normal time. Then let's go to 500 milliseconds. And notice how it's now updating every 500 milliseconds. Let's go on 50 milliseconds. And there you have it. So we're able to change how frequently it updates. Then up next, we have display format. So this controls how the timer is displayed. So right now it's minute, then seconds. We can have hours, minute, and seconds. We can even have milliseconds. Then finally, we can have minute, seconds, and milliseconds. And it even still works. Let's save that back to normal. Then lastly, we have count direction. This determines whether the timer counts up from the initial time or it counts down from the end time. So we select up for a stopwatch style timer or down for a countdown. Up next, we have the data tab. The initial time is the starting value for the timer measured in milliseconds. So by default, it just starts from 0, as you can see here. But then here, you can specify another time where you want it to start. The end time is the value at which the timer will stop counting. So if I say 2000, so this is in milliseconds. If I say 2000, then it's just going to stop at 2 seconds. So now when I start, it goes up to 2 seconds, then it stops. I don't need to stop it. Then finally, let's look at interactions. So on interactions, we have on timer change and on timer end. On timer change, this trigger runs every time the timer increments or decrements based on the update interval. So based on your interval, so my interval is 1000 milliseconds, this is going to run every second. Then on timer end, this activates when the timer reaches the specified end. I have to go back here, then I have to specify an end. Then I have to come back on the interactions. Then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to console log. And in this case, every time I'm going to console log the value. Then on timer end, I'm just going to console log that timer has ended. Then make sure on device preview, you're on web preview. Then open your console log, remove everything that's in there so we have a clean slate. Then now when I start, so on every second, this is going to run. So on timer change, runs. Then when I reach the end, on timer end, runs. So yeah, we can see how these events get triggered. And you know, on time end, instead of console logging, maybe you want to perform a certain action that happens when the timer stops. And that's how you use the timer component in Draftbit. We've covered adding and controlling the timer with buttons, configuring the timer's initial and end times, customizing its behavior, leveraging interactions like on timer change and on timer end, styling it with a font size and a red color to make it stand out. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you found this video helpful. See you next time.